Before the sun has even broken the horizon, before the noise of the world infiltrates your mind, there exists a sacred window of opportunity, a moment in which the mind is most malleable, most receptive, most willing to obey the commands you give it. It is here, in these first waking breaths of the day, that destinies are shaped or destroyed. The average man rolls over, reaches for distraction, and drifts into the current of other people's priorities. But you are not here to be average. You are here to master the kingdom within you, to claim sovereignty over your thoughts, your emotions, and the invisible forces that dictate your every action. This is why each morning must begin not with idle chatter, but with deliberate thought, thought imbued with definiteness of purpose, and a refusal to allow the tides of circumstance to pull you from the helm of your own ship. These 14 reminders are not mere suggestions. They are laws, psychological principles as unbending as gravity. Break them, and you will drift into the chaos of reactivity. Honor them, and you will possess a mind no crisis can bend, a will no obstacle can break. 1. I am the master, not the servant, of my emotions. Emotions are excellent messengers but terrible rulers. The man who lets his emotions dictate his actions is like a ship tossed on a storm without a rudder. But the man who sees emotion for what it is, a signal, not a command, becomes unshakable. This morning affirm to yourself, I am not the weather, I am the climate. My internal state does not change with passing storms. This is the first law of mental sovereignty. 2. My thoughts are my most precious property. Everything in your life, your wealth, your relationships, your reputation, is the outgrowth of the thoughts you permit to live in your mind. Guard them as you would guard gold locked in a vault. Never leave the gates open for fear, doubt, or resentment to wander in unchallenged. What you allow in your mental garden will either nourish your purpose or choke it to death. 3. I will act, not react. There is no greater evidence of mastery than the ability to pause. In that pause lies power, the power to choose action aligned with purpose, rather than reaction dictated by emotion. Train yourself to breathe before you answer, to think before you move, and to weigh before you decide. Action born of discipline builds empires, reaction born of impulse destroys them. 4. I am governed by purpose, not approval. The world is filled with those who have traded their authenticity for applause. They have gained the affection of the crowd but lost the respect of their own conscience. Every morning remind yourself, my standard is my own, and it is higher than the world's. Seek alignment with your mission, not the fleeting validation of the masses. Woo! My time is my life, and I spend it with precision. A man who wastes his morning has already surrendered his day. Minutes are the currency of destiny. Each one must be invested with intention. Do not give the first and finest moments of your day to distraction, gossip, or aimless wandering. Invest them in building the mind and setting the tone for the hours to follow. 6. I will not fight battles that do not matter. Most men dissipate their energy on trifles, arguments that lead nowhere, offenses that injure only their ego, competitions that produce no real gain. Refuse to be drawn into battles unworthy of your focus. Preserve your strength for the wars that shape your future. 7. My mind is a fortress, and I choose what enters. Every word you read, every conversation you engage in, every image you consume leaves a deposit in the vault of your subconscious. Guard this vault with the vigilance of a king's sentry. Feed it only with thoughts, images, and words that build, never those that corrode. 8. Calmness is my weapon. The man who cannot be provoked cannot be defeated. Calmness in the face of insult, delay, or chaos is not passivity, it is the clearest sign of inner strength. While the masses rage, the master remains still, for stillness allows him to see the truth beneath the noise. 9. I am the cause, not the effect. Circumstances are not commands, they are raw material. You are the sculptor. If you wish to change the statue, change the way you strike the chisel. To see yourself as the cause is to remove forever the chains of victimhood. 10. I direct my mind through autosuggestion. Your subconscious will obey whatever commands you repeat with faith and emotion. Do not allow it to drift aimlessly. Instruct it each morning with words that affirm your power, your discipline, and your vision. Tell it what you expect, and it will go to work in silence to make it so. 11. My standards are uncompromising. You will never rise above the standards you tolerate. The moment you make peace with mediocrity, you exile yourself from greatness. Each morning, recommit to excellence, not as an act, but as an identity. 12. I see the world as it is, not as I fear it to be. Accurate thinking is the antidote to panic and the foundation of wise action. Fear distorts perception, turning shadows into monsters. Train your mind to separate fact from opinion, evidence from rumor, signal from noise. 13. My energy will not be wasted on regret or anticipation. The past cannot be altered, the future cannot be lived in advance. The present is the only stage upon which your power can act. Spend no energy rehearsing old wounds or predicting new ones. Invest it wholly in what can be done now. 14. My inner world determines my outer world. Do not seek first to change your environment. Seek first to change yourself. The man who has mastered himself can thrive in any environment, for he carries the conditions of success within him. And so, as you rise each morning, repeat these laws not as idle affirmations, but as binding covenants between your conscious will and your subconscious power. Remember this unbreakable truth. If you command your mind, you command your destiny. If you surrender your mind, you surrender your life. The day will meet you with storms and with sunshine alike, but you, master of your inner world, will move through both untouched, unbroken, and unstoppable. When you rise and speak to yourself, the first reminder, I am the master, not the servant, of my emotions. You are declaring war on the oldest tyrant in human history, the ungoverned impulse. Every kingdom that has fallen, every empire that has crumbled, every life that has been wrecked before its prime shares a common enemy the moment a man allowed passion to overrule reason. Emotions are swift and they are powerful. They arrive like sudden storms, bringing with them the winds of anger, jealousy, fear, and elation alike. But storms do not last, they pass. What remains is the damage or the discipline you chose in the moment. Understand this. To be a master of emotion is not to be without feeling. It is to feel fully, yet act from the throne of your reason, not the chains of your reaction. And this mastery begins the moment your eyes open. Before the body rises, the mind must awaken. In the stillness of dawn, you must remind yourself that no insult, no delay, no unforeseen challenge has the right to dictate the quality of your inner state. You choose the temperature of your soul. You decide the mood of your mind. Every thought thereafter is either a soldier under your command or a saboteur you have allowed to infiltrate your ranks. This is not poetry, it is strategy. The second reminder, my thoughts are my most precious property, demands that you guard your mind with the vigilance of a man defending his last fortress. Think for a moment of all the treasures the world esteems. Gold, land, influence, titles, they can be stolen, traded, inherited, lost. But the quality of your thoughts, that is a treasure only you can guard or squander. What you allow to dwell in your mind will eventually walk into your life in the form of circumstance. A man who constantly entertains doubt will see doors close before they are even built. A man who cultivates belief will find opportunities springing up where none seem to exist. The mind is both architect and laborer, and it will build from whatever blueprint you give it. The third reminder, I will act, not react, is the dividing line between those who command life and those who are carried along by it. Reaction is the default mode of the untrained mind. It requires no discipline, only instinct. But instinct, unshaped by thought, will betray you at the first sign of pressure. To act, on the other hand, is to pause, to evaluate, to align each movement with your long-term objectives rather than your short-term sensations. Imagine a commander on the battlefield who reacts blindly to every attack, rushing troops to wherever the noise is loudest. His army would be scattered before the sun set. But the commander who waits, who sees the whole field, who moves his forces with calculated intent, he owns the outcome before the final blow is struck. That commander must be you. And what of the fourth reminder, I am governed by purpose, not approval? Here lies one of the most fatal illusions of our time, that the applause of the crowd is proof of victory. The truth is that the crowd applauds many things, foolishness, spectacle, even destruction, so long as it entertains. If you trade your compass for their cheers, you will one day wake to find you have climbed the wrong mountain. Approval is a shifting shadow. Purpose is a fixed star. Let others chase the shadow until they collapse from exhaustion. You will follow the star until you arrive at the summit it points to. The fifth, my time is my life, is the reminder most neglected by those who think they have much of it left. Time is the one resource you cannot store, cannot multiply, cannot retrieve once it is spent. The man who throws away his morning has surrendered the day before it began. In those first hours, when your mind is unsoiled by the noise of the world, you must decide who commands this day, you or the thousand voices that will clamor for your attention. The sixth reminder, I will not fight battles that do not matter, is a principle most men never learn until their strength is nearly spent. They squander their mental energy on trivial disputes, defending egos that bring them no profit, chasing victories in arenas that have no bearing on their destiny. Understand this. Every moment you spend in petty conflict is a moment stolen from the construction of your future. The man of discipline does not answer every challenge, nor does he leap to engage every provocation. He is not moved by the need to prove himself to the unworthy. He is moved only by the vision of his purpose. You must learn to let small things die. Not every insult must be avenged, not every criticism must be answered, not every opportunity for argument must be taken. The man who knows when to walk away has already won, for he has preserved his energy for a greater battle. The seventh reminder, my mind is a fortress, and I choose what enters, is both a command and a warning. Your mind is not an open field for every passerby to walk through. It is the citadel from which all orders are issued, and from which your entire life is governed. Yet most men leave the gates wide open. They allow the news to pour fear into their thoughts, the gossip of the idle to plant seeds of doubt, and the constant stream of mediocrity to normalize weakness in their vision. You must become the vigilant guard at the gate of your mind, inspecting every idea before it enters. Ask, does this strengthen my purpose or does it weaken it? If it weakens it, it is the enemy. Shut the gate. The eighth reminder, calmness is my weapon, is one of the most misunderstood principles of mastery. Calmness is not the absence of power. It is power restrained, focused, and applied with precision. The one who remains calm in the midst of chaos sees more clearly than the one who thrashes in panic. This is why in every crisis, the leader who can maintain composure commands the field. While others waste energy on frenzy, he directs energy toward solutions. When others lose their head, you must keep yours. This is the mark of true authority. The ninth, I am the cause, not the effect, is the foundation of all personal sovereignty. Most people live as though the events of life are the wind, and they are the leaves tossed in its path. But to believe you are an effect is to surrender the power to choose. You must instead become the cause. You must look upon every circumstance and say, what action can I take now that aligns with my aim? When you become the cause, you no longer wait for the perfect conditions, you create them. You do not wait for opportunity, you build it. The 10th, I direct my mind through autosuggestion, is one of the most potent laws Napoleon Hill ever revealed, yet it is also one of the least practiced. The mind will believe anything it hears often enough, provided it is spoken with conviction and backed by feeling. This is why you must give yourself commands each morning, not in weak whispers, but in declarations that your subconscious mind will take as law. I am disciplined, I am focused, I am unshakable, I am destined to succeed. Repeat them until they are not just words you say, but truths you live. The 11th, my standards are uncompromising is the invisible wall that separates the extraordinary from the mediocre. The moment you lower your standards to accommodate laziness, fatigue, or social comfort, you have already begun your descent into mediocrity. Excellence is not something you visit on good days. It is the land in which you live, whether the sun is shining or the storm is raging. The 12th, I see the world as it is, not as I fear it to be, is the essence of accurate thinking. Fear is the great distorting lens. It magnifies dangers, blurs opportunities, and turns every unknown into a monster. You must strip away the fog of emotion and see with clarity. Ask, what are the facts? What do I know to be true? What remains unknown, and how will I find it out? A mind trained in accuracy will rarely be deceived, for it refuses to act on assumption. The 13th, my energy will not be wasted on regret or anticipation, is the principle that keeps you anchored in the only place you can act, the present. Regret binds you to a past you cannot alter. Anticipation traps you in a future that does not yet exist. Both are thieves of strength. Your power lies here, in the tasks of this hour, and the disciplined man spends himself fully in the moment at hand. And the 14th, my inner world determines my outer world, is the truth that makes all others possible. A man who has mastered himself will carry peace into chaos, opportunity into famine, and progress into stagnation. He is not at the mercy of his surroundings, for his surroundings are shaped by his state of mind. Fix the inner, and the outer will follow. These reminders are not to be read once and forgotten. They are to be lived, spoken, and breathed until they are woven into the fabric of your nature. The morning is your forge, and these are the hammer strikes that shape the steel of your mind. Each day you either reinforce your mastery or erode it. And if you are to walk the path of the few who command themselves, you must decide every single morning that you will not hand over the throne of your inner world to chance, to mood, or to the influence of others. You must decide to reign. Then let us move beyond the surface and plunge into the depths where these reminders cease to be mere words and become a living, breathing system for ruling your mind and, through it, your life. We will not skip lightly from one to the next as though we are tasting from a buffet of principles. No, we will enter each one as a traveler enters a vast city, exploring every street, studying its structure, and understanding how it connects to the greater empire of mastery. For it is only when you see the architecture beneath the statement that you can truly wield its power. We begin again with the first. I am the master, not the servant, of my emotions. This is not simply a philosophical position. It is a declaration of rank in the unseen hierarchy of your being. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a nation. Within this nation are three great provinces: thought, emotion, and action. In the undisciplined man, emotion rises up like an ambitious warlord, seizing control of the capital, issuing orders in the heat of passion, and dragging the whole nation into wars it cannot win. In the disciplined man, however, thought holds the throne. Emotion serves as an advisor, and action is the obedient general who moves only when given precise command. This is not a repression of feeling, it is the proper order of command. Consider what happens when emotion rules. A man hears an insult, and before thought has had the chance to deliberate, action is already in motion, words are spoken, bridges are burned, damage is done. Or in another case, fear whispers its prophecy of doom, and before the mind examines the evidence, the man abandons his course. In both cases, emotion has usurped the throne. But when thought governs, the insult is examined. Does this demand a response, or will silence serve my purpose better? Fear is interrogated. What is the actual risk, and what measures can I take to counter it? This is mastery. It is not the denial of feeling, it is the refusal to hand over your destiny to feelings that last only moments while the consequences endure for years. Now, to the second. My thoughts are my most precious property. You must understand that every single thing you possess in the visible world began as a thought in the invisible one. Your relationships, your career, your wealth, your reputation, these are all the fruit of seeds once planted in the soil of your mind. And like any soil, it will grow whatever you plant, whether it is wheat or weeds. Most men allow thoughts to enter their mind the way a city allows strangers through open gates without inspection. They allow envy, self-pity, and resentment to walk freely through the corridors of their consciousness. They do not realize these thoughts will begin construction immediately, building limitations, digging traps, erecting walls. The man of mastery inspects every thought at the gate. Does this align with my purpose? Does it serve my growth? Does it make me stronger? If the answer is no, it is turned away. We move to the third. I will act, not react. This is the discipline that transforms potential into power. Reaction is the natural state of the masses. They are triggered, they are provoked, they are herded by external events like cattle in a field. Action, true action, is deliberate. It waits. It calculates. It moves with precision, and only when the movement serves the larger aim. To develop this habit, you must practice the sacred pause. Someone challenges you, pause. A sudden opportunity appears, pause. In that pause, you will discover the space where freedom lives, the space where you are not yet compelled by emotion, habit, or the opinions of others. From there, you choose not based on what is loudest in the moment, but on what is truest in your purpose. The fourth, I am governed by purpose, not approval. The man who depends on the applause of others is like a sailor navigating by the shouting of the crowd on the shore. Their cries change with the wind, and so his course is never steady. The only star worth following is the fixed one, in your own sky, the vision of what you are here to build, to become, to give. Approval is fickle, purpose is eternal. The disciplined man takes counsel from within, not permission from without. And the fifth, my time is my life, and I spend it with precision. You cannot reclaim a morning once it is wasted. You cannot retrieve an hour once it is surrendered. Every day is a coin, and you are spending it whether you realize it or not. Most spend theirs on distraction and wonder why their treasure is small. You must spend yours like an investor who knows the exact return he expects. In the morning, when the mind is fresh and the world's noise has not yet invaded, invest those first hours in strengthening your inner fortress, reading, planning, affirming, thinking. Guard those hours as if they were the foundation stones of your empire, because they are. The sixth, I will not fight battles that do not matter. This requires both humility and foresight. Pride will try to drag you into every skirmish. Vanity will demand that you answer every slight. But the general who sends his soldiers into every minor clash will have no army left for the decisive war. You must measure each battle against your purpose. If it does not advance your cause, it is not worth your energy. Let it pass. Your silence will speak louder than your retaliation ever could. The seventh, my mind is a fortress, and I choose what enters. This means being ruthless about your mental diet. Just as you would not eat poison willingly, you must not consume mental poison, be it in the form of pessimistic voices, sensational headlines, or the ceaseless noise of trivial entertainment. Every word, every image, every idea either fortifies your fortress or undermines its walls. Be the gatekeeper. The eighth, calmness is my weapon. Calmness disarms aggression. Calmness reveals truth. Calmness allows you to stand when others are falling. In negotiations, the calm man controls the table. In crises, the calm man becomes the anchor everyone clings to. Cultivate this calmness not by denying stress, but by practicing mastery over your breathing, your posture, your internal dialogue. Make calmness your default state, and you will be untouchable. The ninth, I am the cause, not the effect. To believe you are merely the effect of circumstances is to hand over your crown to the winds of fate. The man who is cause looks at every problem and asks, what can I do here and now to move closer to my goal? He refuses to wait for rescue, for luck, for the alignment of the stars. He acts as the prime mover of his own life. The 10th, I direct my mind through autosuggestion. This is not mysticism. It is mental conditioning. Just as the body is trained through repetition, the mind is programmed through repeated commands. Each morning, speak to your mind as a commander speaks to his troops, clear orders, unshakable tone, unwavering certainty. The subconscious does not argue. It obeys. Give it orders worthy of your destiny. The 11th, my standards are uncompromising. You cannot dip into mediocrity without being pulled under. Your standards must be high, not just in moments of motivation, but in the quiet hours when no one is watching. The man who tolerates good enough in small things will eventually tolerate it in great things. The 12th, I see the world as it is, not as I fear it to be. Fear will paint monsters in every shadow. But the disciplined mind looks with the eyes of reason, separating fact from fiction, probability from panic. Act on truth, and truth will reward you. Act on fear, and fear will enslave you. The 13th, my energy will not be wasted on regret or anticipation. Regret is an anchor tied to the past. Anticipation is a chain dragging you into the future. Both rob you of the only power you have the ability to act now. Burn them both. Stand in the present and pour your full force into the work at hand. The 14th, my inner world determines my outer world. Your environment is not the master of your fate. Your mind island change, your inner climate, and the weather of your life will follow. If you carry order within, you will bring order to chaos. If you carry strength within, you will bring strength to weakness. You rise in the morning, and before your body has moved, before your feet have touched the ground, you have already determined the shape of your day. Whether you know it or not, the first few thoughts that enter your mind at dawn will either strengthen your grip on life or weaken it. The untrained man wakes in a fog, letting whatever thought drifts in dictate the tone of his day. He hears the echo of yesterday's failures, the shadow of future fears, and in that instant before he has even left the bed, his mind has surrendered command. But you are not here to surrender. You are here to rule. And rulership begins not with others, not with circumstances, but with the silent declaration that you and you alone are the sovereign of your inner kingdom. The first truth you must engrave into the walls of your mind is this: I am the master, not the servant, of my emotions. Emotions are swift, powerful, and often deceptive. They can serve as guides, but they can never be allowed to hold the reins. The man who is ruled by emotion is like a general who hands over command of his army to a soldier intoxicated with rage or blinded by fear. Victory becomes impossible because reason has been banished from the field. And yet, emotions are not enemies. They are energy. They are fire. And fire, when placed in the hearth, warms and strengthens, but when unleashed without control, consumes and destroys. Your task is not to extinguish your emotions, but to contain and direct them. When anger comes, do not let it dictate your words. Let it sharpen your resolve to act with precision. When fear arises, do not let it command your retreat. Let it awaken your preparation. When joy swells, do not let it scatter your focus. Let it fuel your persistence. The emotion itself is neither good nor bad. It is the master or the servant, depending on whether thought sits on the throne. And to place thought on the throne, you must accept the second law. My thoughts are my most precious property. Gold can be stolen, land can be taken, positions can be lost, but the quality of your thought belongs only to you. It is the blueprint from which your entire life will be built. Every success you have ever admired began as a thought, clear, definite, guarded against corruption. Every failure you have seen began as a thought, doubt allowed to grow, resentment permitted to take root, fear given permanent lodging. Imagine your mind as a vault. Each morning you decide what deposits to make. Will you store visions of your aim, solutions to your challenges, affirmations of your power, or will you fill it with the cheap currency of complaint, distraction, and self-pity? The vault will not argue. It will store whatever you give it, and what it stores, it will compound until your life bears the exact image of the thoughts you have most often entertained. But a vault filled with treasure is worthless if its owner cannot act upon it. This is where the third law takes hold. I will act, not react. Reaction is the untrained reflex of the masses. They respond to insult with insult, to fear with retreat, to temptation with surrender. But the man of mastery inserts the sacred pause between stimulus and response. In that pause, he examines, will this action serve my aim or betray it? That single breath of deliberation is the dividing line between the man who owns his destiny and the man who is dragged by it. A soldier reacts, a commander acts. And you must be the commander not only of your words and movements, but of the direction of your entire life. The fourth law is the compass without which all other discipline collapses. I am governed by purpose, not approval. The world is loud with voices offering their opinions on your path. Follow them, and you will end up in places they themselves have never reached. The applause of the crowd is not a map, it is a distraction. A man who lives for approval is a man without a core, swaying with every shift in the wind. Purpose, on the other hand, is fixed. It is the star by which you navigate when the sea is black and the storms are high. It does not waver when people mock you, nor does it inflate when they praise you. Purpose simply is, and your duty is to align every decision with it. From this flows the fifth law. My time is my life, and I spend it with precision. Every man is given the same 24 hours, yet some live decades in those hours, while others barely live at all. The difference is in the spending. A morning given to distraction is a morning surrendered to the enemy. The first hours are sacred. They belong to the cultivation of the mind, the sharpening of the will, the reaffirmation of your aim. Treat your time as a miser treats his gold, spent only on what multiplies it. Now we come to the sixth. I will not fight battles that do not matter. The battlefield of life is littered with the fallen who wasted their strength on petty wars. They fought for the approval of strangers, defended their ego against meaningless slights, pursued revenge where no profit could be gained. The man of discipline conserves his energy. He knows that every ounce of strength spent on a worthless quarrel is strength stolen from the great campaign of his purpose. Let the small battles pass. Save your sword for the wars that shape your destiny. The seventh law stands guard over all the rest. My mind is a fortress, and I choose what enters. You are bombarded daily by forces seeking entry, voices that plant doubt, headlines that breed fear, images that stir greed, envy, or lust. If you leave the gates unguarded, the fortress will fall from within. This is why you must stand at the gates each morning and ask of every influence, will you strengthen my walls or weaken them? If it weakens, reject it without hesitation. From this vigilance arises the eighth law. Calmness is my weapon. In the heat of conflict, the calm man sees clearly. In negotiation, the calm man controls the pace. In crisis, the calm man becomes the anchor others cling to. Calmness is not passivity. It is the refusal to surrender your inner state to outer chaos. It is a form of power that multiplies the effectiveness of every action you take. The ninth law declares sovereignty in its purest form. I am the cause, not the effect. This is the rejection of victimhood in every form. It is the acceptance that while you cannot control all events, you can always control your response, and in controlling that, you determine the outcome. The man who is cause seeks solutions, creates opportunities, and moves with intention, regardless of circumstance. The 10th law reveals the secret tool of the mind. I direct my mind through autosuggestion. Your subconscious is the silent engineer of your fate. It builds in the background, using whatever plans it is given. If you do not feed it plans, it will build from the scraps of random thought, fear, and habit. Each morning you must give it orders clear, definite, spoken with conviction, and it will obey. The 11th law sets the standard. My standards are uncompromising. Mediocrity does not announce its arrival. It creeps in through small concessions. The moment you accept good enough in your thoughts, your actions, or your character, you have begun to decline. High standards must be non-negotiable, enforced in private as strictly as in public. The 12th law protects you from illusion. I see the world as it is, not as I fear it to be. Fear is a liar. It magnifies shadows, distorts facts, and disguises opportunity as danger. The disciplined mind demands evidence. It separates fact from opinion, probability from paranoia. It acts only on what is true, not on what is merely felt. The 13th law keeps you anchored. My energy will not be wasted on regret or anticipation. Regret binds you to a past you cannot change. Anticipation traps you in a future you cannot yet act upon. Both steal from the present, the only place where change is possible. And the 14th law crowns them all. My inner world determines my outer world. Change the inside, and the outside follows. Strength, order, and vision within will manifest as strength, order, and vision in your environment. Chaos within will breed chaos without. If you have walked with me through these 14 laws, if you have not merely read but absorbed them, then you already know this. The enemy is not the world, not your circumstances, not even the opposition that stands openly before you. The enemy is the undisciplined self, the version of you that trades the eternal for the immediate, the worthy for the comfortable, the possible for the safe. That self has lived too long under your roof, feasting at your table, poisoning your well with every weak thought and every reactionary impulse. And now you must cast it out with finality. Understand this. There comes a moment in every life where the old self and the new self cannot coexist. That moment is not ceremonial, it is war. You either drive the blade of discipline into the heart of the self that serves fear, or that self will quietly strangle your greatness before it is born. There is no polite negotiation here, no compromise that allows both to breathe. One must die. And if it is not the old self that dies, then your purpose, your destiny, your potential will be the casualty. From this day forward, you will walk into the world carrying an invisible crown, the crown of the man who governs himself. It will not glitter for the crowd. It will not be seen by those who live as slaves to impulse, but those who know will recognize it. They will see it in your stillness under pressure, in your refusal to be baited by trivialities, in the calm fire of your eyes when others panic. They will sense that you are not driven by the same winds that move them, that you are propelled by something they cannot touch, a force they cannot name, an authority they cannot counterfeit. And the world will test you. It will send storms to try to drown your calm, temptations to lower your standards, voices to lure you from your purpose, and fears to cloud your accurate thinking. But the man who holds fast to these laws will not break. He will not bend to the noise of the crowd or the heat of the moment. He will move like a great ship through the tempest, steady on its course, indifferent to the waves that batter against its hull. This is the life awaiting you if you choose it. Not a life free from struggle, but a life in which struggle bends to your will. Not a life without enemies, but a life in which no enemy can dictate your fate. Not a life without loss, but a life in which loss becomes fuel for greater gain. So rise tomorrow and every tomorrow after, with the discipline of a warrior and the calm of a king. Speak your laws aloud until the very walls of your mind vibrate with them. Carry them into every room, every decision, every battle, every silence. Let them be the steel in your spine, the compass in your hand, the fire in your blood. And when the world demands to know why you move with such certainty, why you are untouched by chaos, why you seem to bend reality to your will, you will not need to answer. For by then, your life itself will be the answer, and the crown you wear will be carved not from gold, but from the unbreakable mastery of your own mind. And from that mastery, nothing will be impossible to you.